Hi there, welcome to JJAtkinsArt. Today we're going to be breaking down a caricature of Ross Geller from Friends. More specifically inspired by this little scene right here where they had something of a game show amongst all of them and he hosted. Stay tuned, we're going to break down the caricature, talk about where the resemblance comes from, and really get into the rough sketch so we can really kind of determine where all the origins of the good caricature comes from. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Okay, now to start here, we're not going to use this photo as our reference. It's good for inspiration, but the face on it's a little bit small to be able to get anything related to a resemblance. So let's switch this up a little bit. We'll get into the sketch and start breaking it down. I'm going to use the picture-in-picture feature here to show you what I did use as a reference, and really it was just a nice little shot I found on Google of a bunch of different expressions on this actor's face. Now, a couple things stand out right from the get-go, and that's why I was able to dive in and get a resemblance almost immediately after an initial sketch. So breaking it down, first things first, the nose. It is very obvious, and I really try to stay away from drawing caricatures with people that have a large nose because it's just immediately the first thing that everybody jumps into. If you're drawing a caricature, it must be a big nose. And sometimes it is the truth and sometimes it's just not. It's not the thing you want to exaggerate. But in this case, it totally is. The actor here who plays Ross has a large nose, so large that it actually elongates the rest of his face and makes his mouth appear lower on his face than normal. So we're going to exaggerate all these things. In the world of caricature, you have certain head types that crop up over and over and over again, and this one's a very easy one to kind of identify when you see it. Loosely, we'll call this banana head. Ross has a very elongated face, so, draw his face similar to a banana, and you got a little bit something to kind of start off with as far as a rough shape is concerned. Now, a few other observations about the face that I think bear mentioning. A lot of times when I'm trying to kind of start off with a likeness, I start by drawing a line roughly around where the eyes are and determining which half of the face, the upper or the lower half, has the most amount of mass. And in this case, it's very clear to me that the lower half, anything below the cheekbones, is really taking up that entire lower half of the face. And so we're going to exaggerate that feature as well. The eyes are going to be a little bit small to kind of balance everything out, but the eyes are a very important part of the resemblance too. So take a look. Again, the picture's a little bit small here, maybe a little bit difficult to see, but if you're a regular watcher of the TV show like I was back when it first aired, Ross always has that hangdog look expression on his face, his empathy, or his seeking empathy look, maybe is the way to put it. Puppy dog eyes might be the best way to put it. So I made sure I try to capture that as much as possible. He always has kind of a pathetic look on his face, for lack of a better term. And even though there wasn't necessarily the expression on his face in any of the little references that I had, I do remember it from the TV show as something that very much stood out about his character. Obviously, that's something I'm going to include in this if I'm going for something of a resemblance. If I recognize that in him as a regular caricature trait, others probably will as well. Now, a couple of other things here. The laugh lines might be the best way to put it. The lines that occur between the nose and the mouth, on the sides and the corners of the mouth, they're also very much exaggerated on this caricature, and it comes again from just the face that I'm looking at in the reference photo. Now, the picture-in-picture feature in this little program kind of expires after a while, so it's kind of gone off screen. But I will tell you that, anytime you see anybody try to do a caricature of Ross Geller, the laugh lines are always there. And probably the best example of this would be the Lego minifigure. Believe it or not, they did a Friends Lego set where you could build the apartments in the coffee shop. And that meant little minifigures of all the friends. And Legos are very limited in terms of the detail they'll put into their minifigures, but the Ross character looked a lot like him, and mostly because of the little laugh lines they put around his mouth. So I made sure to include them in my little caricature as well. Now, hairstyles vary as far as this actor is concerned. He was on a TV show for about 10 years or so I had to kind of choose one, and that's why we used the inspiration of that game show episode to inspire our work here. It also helped inspire the outfit I'm going to have him wearing in a little bit. Now, there is a little bit of motivation behind this, so I thought I'd offer a little bit of a background as to why this caricature is being drawn to begin with. So in some previous videos, I've mentioned that I occasionally build little game shows for the work team that I interact with on a regular basis. And these little game shows usually happen around Halloween, but I decided to do one that was a little off schedule, and the theme of this little game show is friends. So I kind of put together something of like a Jeopardy quiz show type format, put it all in PowerPoint, and then draw some caricatures for some artwork just to make it kind of fun and lighthearted and stuff like that. Now, what I decided to do was use inspiration from the show itself. Friends was the topic. This was a quiz show about people who were fans of the TV show, but we did have one episode in there where Ross played host of a game show, and what better inspiration. So this caricature is meant to have Ross be the host of the PowerPoint game show that I'm creating. And so what you'll eventually see here is a background I'm going to throw in there that's just, a picture from the actual TV episode. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time doing the background, and there was good reason for that. What I really needed out of this caricature had nothing to do with the background. I just needed the actual figure himself to be able to copy and paste with no background into a PowerPoint presentation that would have some other things, some other elements like questions and things like that I could kind of copy and paste in around him as I saw fit. So I really needed this just to be an image with no background so I can maneuver it and make it as versatile as possible, basically. If you have any interest in what I'm talking about in terms of these PowerPoint games, they're a lot of fun to develop, but it does require something of a really good knowledge of how PowerPoint works. But if you do know some of the advanced features, you can make some really, really powerful and amazing games that are really a lot of fun, even if you kind of just want to do it with your friends. So again, if you have any interest, leave me a comment, let me know, and maybe I'll put some videos up about that a little bit later. I actually have a few of these games I've developed over the last couple of years or so. Now, a little bit about the Friends episode. Now, I'm a huge fan of Friends. I have seen literally every episode because back in the mid-90s, I was that guy that cut off work at a certain time and would come home. There always seemed to be an episode in syndication or something like that. So I've seen a lot of it, if not all of it, and was a big fan for the longest time. And so these characters are really very familiar to me, but I find the very interesting thing here is that they're not easy to caricature. I don't know what the deal is with these 6 particular people. Ross actually being the exception. We'll talk about that in a second. But they're not easy to caricature. Matthew Perry and Matt LeBlanc, a little bit difficult to caricature. Some people have done it with various degrees of success. But take a moment there and go Google caricatures of the Friends cast, and you won't find a lot, and you won't find ones that are actually extremely good. Even some of the best caricature artists seem to struggle with these people. And again, I'll call out Ross here as the exception. He has that banana face that caricature artists really just kind of jump onto really quickly. But again, I think a lot of people struggle with the others. Maybe Jennifer Aniston might be a little bit easier as well, but the majority of that cast is just a little bit hard to capture likeness on a little bit. And again, I've seen some really, really talented caricature artists take a stab at it and just not their best work. I'm just going to be critical of it. And I'm being critical of it because I'm critical of my own work too. So if I see a good resemblance and I see a good caricature, I'm going to call it out. If I see a bad one, I'm going to call it out too. And that's just being honest and being critical so that way we can improve. So take it for what it is. Now, getting back to this particular drawing, again, the outfit was chosen for a reason. This is the outfit that came from that particular episode. Now, that episode, I think, was called something like The One with the Embryos. There was a background story with Phoebe trying to go through an artificial insemination process, hence the title. But what the other 5 individuals, the other 5 friends were up to was some sort of a wager between them about who knew more about the other group. So did the boys know more about the girls, or did the girls know more about the boys? And Ross developed some questions to quiz them and see who could win this bet. If you're familiar with the show, this is the bet that ultimately ended up in the friends ending up switching apartments. So the girls and the boys ended up switching apartments for a period of time as a result of this bet. And one of my favorite episodes, because the questions in there really kind of let you know a lot more about the characters that you just never suspected in a million years. And just really just some funny joke and just the humor on point. So again, the point here is that this was drawn for a PowerPoint presentation that ultimately ended up being something of a quiz show game. And to kind of take that one step further, if you were interested, I did another caricature for this game of the Janice character that was also kind of a recurring character on the show. If you're familiar with her, you know who she is. Oh my God, and all that. I'll put a link up in the upper right-hand corner there if you want to go ahead and click on it, and that'll let you go ahead and take a look at that video if you have some interest in that one. No real commentary on that one. It's more like just a speed art type thing, but if you're interested in it, take a look. That being said, there's not a whole lot more to talk about in terms of this caricature. You'll see here that some of the art is kind of slowing down a little bit because I'm working on some of the detail work and trying to get some shading in there to kind of get some rough idea of what colors are going to be in there and how to balance out those colors. Now, again, a lot of the inspiration came from something that already existed in terms of a photograph, so I didn't have to do a lot here other than just fool around with the pose a little bit and get it the way I wanted to. There was no specific photo of this specific pose within that show at all. The head, obviously, I got from reference, but the body was just something that was completely an invention of my own. The only thing that I did get from the photograph is just what color shirt he was wearing and the fact that it had stripes in it and, etc. So here's the final product, and let's review how we got there. Started with our initial reference photograph, get our nice, quick 10-second or so rough sketch in. We'll go ahead and refine a little bit, maybe add a pose in for the body, try to resize head to body and make sure we get some balance there. Then we'll come up with our final rough sketch. Inking is always a stage I like to put in there. I think it kind of refines the drawing a little bit, and then we can go in and start laying in color. Once color of the basic, kind of flat colors is done, get in there with our shadow light, add in our background, and we got our final product. So that's all there is to it. Come on back, see me again soon. Love to have you. Thanks for stopping by.